Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswin and Lord Knight. So today's topic is crystals.
Okay.
So what is it about crystals that drives you up the wall? This has been a point for you for quite some time now.
Well, it's not crystals per se.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody's, I don't know how to explain this obsession with the crystals.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's not the crystals or the rocks themselves. It's just this whole entire attitude of you can't do a damn thing unless you have a crystal.
All right.
Or this rock or this or that. And they make it sound like if you don't, the world's going to end. It's a rock.
So it's basically we don't need a crystal for this and a crystal for that and a crystal for everything under the sun.
Right. It's the bad joke. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges.
You're going to get us canceled.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is you get these crystals, you bring them home, you cleanse them. Mm-hmm. You basically set them back to their factory reset. No other energies there but the crystal themselves.
Right.
And if you let them sit there, they will do absolutely nothing. They will not magically start generating energy out of thin air. They won't suddenly start spouting out magical energy and psychic energy all over the place.
Well, no, but even like when you reset a computer back to factory settings, it still does something. So those crystals are still putting out
their normal
whatever
thing.
natural energy that they have.
And it's no different than the same things that oil put out, wood puts out, and all this other. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no difference there.
Yeah.
Just like raw crude oil is a natural substance, so are crystals. The fact is that crude oil technically might have more energy in it because it came from living beings. There could still be some trace elements of spirit energy there.
Okay, yeah.
Because it came from living materials. I'm not saying that they're full of it. It's just there might be a trace there.
Right.
While crystals, on the other hand, there's no difference between this quartz crystals and the rocks out in my yard.
Okay, you're going to get a lot of people saying that's not the case.
Well, I understand on a molecular level that the structure of a crystal is a whole lot different than most other rocks. But at the end of the day, it's still just a rock. And
well, true.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. My problem comes when we talk about how in the world these spells work. You get a crystal, you quote unquote cleanse it. Then you turn around and you charge it for protection or something or anything you want. Then you wear it around your neck. The idea there is every time then you have to adjust the crystal or your necklace, doing the whole,
Oh, okay, yeah, when the clasp comes around.
When the clasp and you're having to move it around every time you grab it and stuff like this. In the back of your mind, subconsciously, you're remembering that you blessed this crystal and blah, blah, blah for protection. That's actually what gives you protection, not the crystal itself. It's the thought behind it. The crystal's just
a focal point.
A focal point or a battery. It just contains a little bit of the energy. But no, you hear these people saying, okay, no, if you put these crystals in this pattern, it's just suddenly going to start producing energy like crazy. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, we knew somebody not too long ago who went through a course, and that was something they had to do. It was like putting into a
matrix,
matrix or mandala type thing.
Right. Now, as long as you're sitting there and you're feeding energy into it, the crystals are going to react accordingly.
Right.
But as soon as you stop that, once the energy runs out, the energy runs out.
But now here's the question. When you're feeding energy into it, is it the difference between, say, when you stick your tongue to a AA battery and nothing happens, but the battery is still putting something out, as opposed to when you put your tongue to a 9-volt battery and you get a little surge of something.
Well,
So are the crystals like the 9-volt battery when you're putting stuff into it,
basically,
and more
yeah.
like the AA when you're not?
Well, the double A, the problem, the reason you don't get a shock on the double A is because you can't put the tongue on both ends. On 9-volt batteries, you're shorting out the battery. That's where the tingle comes from.
But still, my point is,
Right. Again,
you're not getting that from the battery.
No.
For whatever reason, you're not getting it from the battery.
But your analogy is just perfect. This is just what crystals are nothing more than batteries. Once they're used up, unless we recharge them, they're not going to have energy in them. Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
They're more like vessels than they are anything else. Yes, their structure allows us to put more psychic energy into certain crystals versus others. It's like the difference between the electrical conductivity between silver and copper. Well, silver's better, but we use copper because it can handle up to the harsh environments. But once you take that charge away, it's still just copper.
Right.
The same thing with crystals. Why, yes, a charged tiger's eye might lend its natural frequency to help you focus better, but it's not going to by itself.
Right.
You're still a part of this. And the bigger part is you than the crystal. The crystal, again, we're back to it's a focus. My problem with, you got people out there and it's kind of like, oh my God, I can't do nothing without this crystal or do this without, it's that, remember that scene in Practical Magic where they go pick her up, what's her name, the wild sister?
Mm-hmm.
And they're leaving the hotel, and she's like, "Oh, blood on the moon, I need my tiger's eye.
Yeah.
This is what I have a problem with. I have to have this to protect it.
Right.
I think you're undercutting us as individuals and putting on you in the rock, not you.
Right. Well, if that's the case, then does it really even matter what type of crystal it is? I mean,
does it? Does it really? In the grand scheme of things, does it really? Does it even have to be a real crystal?
I mean, it could be a synthetic crystal, man-made crystal, right?
Well, and
that matter.
Well, we've talked extensively about, the astral plane and how things are perceived there, where basically form follows thought.
Right.
In other words, whatever you think just suddenly exists. And this exists on all the spiritual planes. And then there was in one particular, where we talked about the 13 goals or things of the witch.
Yeah.
In which they declared the psychological a spiritual realm.
Yeah.
In and of itself. This state is more powerful than that damn crystal sitting there. On that plane of existence, you can create a massive crystal through pure thought on that plane of existence.
Right.
So is it really the crystal, or is it just the structure of the atoms vibrating on this certain realm that allows us to do this? Are you with me?
No, I think you lost me.
On the psychological realm, you can envision yourself sitting there holding a crystal.
Yeah.
All right? Because you vision-wise or on the spiritual plane can see a crystal, therefore it is. So if you're on the astral plane and you make a crystal appear in your hand, it is a real crystal at that point.
Right, I get all that. I just don't know how we came to this part of the conversation.
Well, that's my point. If we can do the same thing on the astral plane just by creating an object out of energy, why in the world do we need a crystal on this regular plane?
Oh, okay,
of existence? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Is the energy of the crystal, the resonance in which it vibrates at, is the more important key here than the crystal itself? Because we can recreate that same vibration on the spiritual realm without an actual crystal.
Well, yeah, and I get that. I think you're probably right. But my question is does it really matter what type of crystal?
What?
So like they say, you know,
But
rose
that's-
quartz is good for love energy. But if I needed love energy and I put love energy into a quartz crystal, does it really matter that it's not rose quartz?
Well, I mean, this also leans into the whole entire conversation of, if you need a spell, why are you going to, if you got a loved one that's sick, are you really going to wait 6 months for the quote unquote right time, planetary hour, blah, 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 just to heal that relative?
Well,
or are
I'm
you
not.
just going to do whatever in the hell you can right then and there?
That's what I'm going to
And
do.
summon all the powers you can to, that's my point. If we can do that, then why in the hell are we doing all this other stuff? Why in the world do we have to have a crystal? Why do we have to wait for this? There's something.
Well, it's the same thing with, you know, rainwater or moon water or anything like that. Why do you have to wait to gather it? You have water at your disposal.
Right. You know, to make moon water, you fill up water, you set it outside underneath the moonlight and bring it back in before sunrise.
Right, but point is, if you don't have it for a spell, are you really going to wait?
Are you really going to wait? And especially, well, if it's a spell with need attached to it,
Right,
where there's an urgency, it's got to be done now and not,
right.
you know, because
No, I'm not going to wait.
You know, because if it's not that important, you can wait 6 months, then do you really need it?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. If I can sit there and wait 6 months for the correct energy, blah, 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 then I got to ask myself, do I even really need to do the spell to begin with? If I have to wait for this crystal, why? And it might be our style of magic because we do more
I'm pretty sure it is.
energy manipulation style magic than anything else when we do magic.
Well, I think it could all be considered energy manipulation, but I think there's different forms of it. And
Right.
the older, we'll say, higher magic, like what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know if you would classify it as a higher magic. It is just,
Well, I think some people do because of the amount of effort that it takes to do it.
I guess.
But anyway, I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff is unnecessary.
Right.
And that's, you know,
Well, I mean, I do too
it
because
doesn't work for me.
I keep on sitting back thinking like this. All right, if I'm some granny witch, whatever,
Right.
living back in the 18th, 1700s, whatever, it's not like I can just go on Amazon and order what in the world I want.
Right.
All right, I mean, that's my point there. If our ancestors didn't need it, even though they might have had access and have to wait a year or two to get these items,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we might have to wait a couple of weeks, but they did fine without them.
Sure they did, yeah.
That's my point. And I sort of think we're putting too much emphasis on this requiring shit, requiring stuff.
So you think it's more like our attitude towards our tools and things like that, where it's not necessary, they're not needed.
No.
Like it's not absolute that you have to have these in order to
Right.
cast a spell or cast a circle or anything like
I
that.
don't want to say that because there are certain rituals we do that require certain items.
Well, sure, yeah.
All right, but those items are normally things that are crafted ourselves and we just have to find the parts to do it.
Right.
That to me is still something different because the journey of making it is what is the lesson
Yes.
behind some of this stuff.
Right.
That to me is a little bit different because you're learning a lesson there.
Yeah. But again, that's different.
That's slightly different. Now I'm not going to sit there and go, "Oh no, you have to have that." No, not to do ritual, not to commune with deity.
Right.
I don't see these as necessary.
No, I completely agree because I mean I like crystals, but I don't really have a use for them, and so I just don't keep a lot of them around. Just because why? Why would I?
Well, I'm sure in the
They're
world
pretty.
they're pretty, but I'm sure in the world ain't going to go out and spend three or $400
On rocks.
on a rock.
No.
I don't care how pretty it is. I mean, that's that practicality and craft. It's just what do I need versus what I want.
Well, and that's not to say, I mean, we know someone who's very dear to us who collects gemstones. But she goes out and she doesn't buy them.
No.
She digs for them. She's making the effort.
Well, I mean, I've heard a lady, Alba. She said she's paid for a few here and there,
right, but she digs for most
but
of
the
hers.
majority of them she went out and found. But again, this is the difference between a hobby and what we're talking about for craft.
What people see as a necessity for craft.
Right, because I'm putting what in the world she's doing in the same category as stamps.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If
Right.
you're collecting and you want to spend that kind of money, and more power to you.
Right.
But if you think it's necessary, maybe you need some extra help. I don't know.
And I hate to be this way. When I hear people talk about this subject, they seem to come from that you have to have it. I'm still going to argue the whole entire thing. You have an interdimensional creature that can break through universal barriers and stuff, but you think this little quartz crystal is going to stop it from hurting you.
Right.
What? How? Why this crystal? I mean, this is like a superhero being able to be stopped by the color red.
Right.
I mean, I remember the whole entire Green Lantern and the yellow light and the whole 9 yards. Before it got a little bit more complicated when you're a kid, it's just, oh, he has a problem. You can't use green light on yellow. Why?
Right. No, it didn't make sense.
Right. To me, this is the same thing that you're doing there with the crystals.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
So I think that's all I got to say about that.
All right, so let's talk about something else. This might be a little short one, but you were watching a live cast on YouTube, and you were looking through the live chat, and somebody mentioned, I need a new spell.
Which made me ask the question, what was wrong with the old spell?
Right.
In my head, I mean, I'm just asking.
So what is this phenomena that's going on?
I don't know.
Where people are asking for new spells.
And what was wrong with the old spell?
And why can't you come up with your own spell?
And why are you even asking?
If you need a new spell, make one.
Well, let's first figure out what in the world they're actually talking about. Because
right.
I'm confused here, and I don't know about you.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right? Because we believe in the witch's pyramid. Or we follow, I shouldn't say we believe, we just know it works because we've used it so many times.
Right.
So, what's the problem?
I don't know.
Or are they talking about the style of spells? Like, to me, doing a witch's bottle is a style of spell.
Right.
Am I making sense here?
Right. There's knotting chords. There's, candle spells. There's...
Right.
Incense spells.
Are you doing a candle spell? Are you using bird seeds and spread out into a pattern of a symbol or something?
Right. I mean, are you writing it down on a piece of paper and burning in the fire?
Right. Are you drawing a picture or something?
Is this what you're talking about?
Is this what they're talking about? I guess that's what I'm asking the pagan community at large. What are y'all talking about? Because to me, this don't make sense. So are you just needing a new style of spell, or are you just... Maybe it's just me. Maybe I've done this tradition too long.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't understand it either, because in the first place, if you're doing a spell, you need to realize the spell is not going to work immediately.
Well, you see,
it's not going to be like in a recent time frame.
Well, here,
necessarily.
Let's talk about what's actually going on here. One of the things that is actually going on here, like Etsy, not too long ago, made all the people on there remove their spells.
Right, and you've mentioned that before.
All right, because they weren't working. Because we have people out there that believe if you do step A through B or whatever, you've cast a spell. They don't understand that there's some other stuff behind that, the witch's pyramid, to help you move this along.
Right.
And for those that don't know the witch's pyramid, you have to know yourself, or know yourself. You have to know what in the world it is you want. So you got to do your meditations.
Right.
Then you have to have the will or the emotional energy to cast the spell.
Right.
Then you have to have the visualization to see how in the world you want the spell to end. And then last but not least, you have secrecy, which is to not talk about the spell and let it go do what it's got to do. And you ignore the spell or you forget about it too. You don't even talk about it to yourself.
Right. All these elements together
Or make up what we call the witch's pyramid, which is the engine of magic as far as I'm concerned.
Right. You've got the 3 points as the base, and then you got the point at the top.
Well, that's spiritual. But yes, you got these 4 sides of the same pyramid. So what are we talking about? So when you're asking for a new spell, what are you actually asking for? Are you asking for a new style, or are you asking for something else? I mean, seriously.
Well, I'm still under the impression that, yeah, if you're following the witch's pyramid, then anything is possible. But if you're doing a spell and it's not working, you first need to analyze, did I do something wrong?
Or is this actually what I need?
Or, yeah, is it what I need?
Am I actually casting?
Did I miss something?
Or am I actually casting a spell for what I need, and I'm looking for it, but I'm getting something else?
Right. Again, they don't always work like we think they should.
Well, no, and
they don't always work in the time frame that we think they should.
But then you also have the problem of, I want to be famous. Right? If you're casting a spell just to be famous.
Right.
You can be famous for being bad just as much as you can for being good.
Sure, yeah.
Question is, you didn't state which one.
And what level of famous are you talking about? Are you talking local celebrity? You know,
what? I mean, do you want to be famous for, doing a sex video?
Right.
Because, hey, you cast a spell and now a video accidentally got out.
Right.
And is now being posted everywhere, and now you're famous for doing a sex video.
Right.
And I'm not talking about accidentally on purpose, like certain celebrities do, but I just mean, it actually getting out or an actual accident. And now you're all upset about that. Again, this is back to what people want, what they know.
Right. But I'm just saying, a lot of times when spells don't quote unquote work, it's a user error.
Yes.
It's not.
It's not a spell error.
The universe didn't see fit to make this happen.
Right.
It's a user error.
See, I don't see that it works that way. Like I said, I see it like you. I see it as a user error.
And so you need to look at, is this something that I really need?
Or won't?
Or is this something that I want?
Right.
Is this need or greed?
Right.
If it's greed, is this spell really necessary?
Well, we were always taught, again, even in the Wiccan Read. It says, if you have a need, and better it be at the time of her, I can't remember the exact wording, then let it, ask her so.
Right.
In other words, it specifically says a need.
Right.
Not a want, a need. All right, which again explains to me, magic is used to obtain what you need versus what you want.
Right, but it's also not going to be instant.
No spell's instant.
It's got to have some time to do what it needs to do.
Well, and that's kind of like trying to get people to understand. All spells are cast in a future tense.
Yes.
And the closer you get to a present tense, the harder it is to change those odds.
Right. So if you're looking to change something like within a month, the odds are greater that it's not going to happen.
Well, if you want something for a month compared to a week out, the odds are the week is going to be a little bit harder than the month.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go with a month versus a year.
Right. Same scenario. Again, your better chances in a year.
Right.
Because you got 365 days.
Right. So the further out, the better.
Right, for the spell to work.
I guess I'm going with, if that's the case, is that why you think you need a new spell?
Well, then my
Because
question,
it's not quote unquote working?
or is it like us where we're sitting back because we don't use spells that much?
Right.
Spells and stuff to us are a byproduct. Yeah, we can do it, whatever. It's a tool we use. It's not our screwdriver. It's not our wrench. It's that one that we can just grab whenever we need to at the end of the day.
Right. I still like the Lord of the Rings analogy where it's kind of like Gandalf.
Yeah.
When you're watching the Lord of the Rings movies, you don't see Gandalf doing a whole lot of magic.
We just watched that, in which you noted, which I pointed that out to you, and
Right.
you started to notice.
Right.
Everybody came to Gandalf for his wisdom and his knowledge,
Yes.
not his access to magic.
Right. Not that he didn't do magic in the movies
No.
or in the books, but he didn't rely on it.
No.
And he wasn't trying to fix anything with magic either.
No. I mean, they at no time whatsoever did they use magic to fix anything, because we know magic don't fix problems.
Right.
We fix problems. We fix ourselves.
Right.
You know, if you have trouble managing your money, you need to take more money management courses. No spell in the world is going to suddenly fix that problem.
No.
I mean, that's just like, if you're a bad cook. I'm sorry, casting spells are not going to suddenly make you a better cook overnight. A will is like watching YouTube videos on cooking and reading books and other things to improve those cooking skills. Where in the world we think a new spell will fix our problem
I don't know.
is beyond me. And why in the world that always seems to be the solution?
I don't know. It baffles me that that's the mentality nowadays.
I mean, I sort of want to put this in a sort of a way of how little of you to think that you have to use magic instead of actually being a big boy or a big girl and looking into your psyche and your own
Right.
problems instead of going ahead and going to the universe. I mean, that's kind of like these people that cast these spells and blah, 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 and for whatever reason then go, oh, and it do no harm, and, if the gods will. Why do you think the gods are even paying attention to you?
Right.
I mean, I don't think I'm important enough for the gods to go, oh, wait a minute, he mentioned me. What? I'm supposed to, whatever.
Right.
I don't see it working that way.
No. But I mean, as far as the whole new spell goes, I'm like you. If you're asking for a new way to do something,
or a different style of spell,
right?
Why aren't they? If that's
why
what
don't
they
you just
want,
say that?
why aren't they saying that? Why aren't you just saying a new spell?
Because that could mean anything. When you say new spell, that can mean anything.
And like I said, you still got these people out there that believe if you do, these 12 steps or these 5 steps, they're casting a spell and that's it. And that's all they got to do.
And then I'm also wondering, if you are a witch, like you say you are, and I know this is going to seem petty, but it's a legitimate question for me. If you're a witch, like you say you are, why can't you come up with your own spell? Why do you have to rely on somebody else to do that?
The forms of mediums out there.
I know. There are so many different ways. There's tarot cards. There's numerology. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to cast spells.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this.
And if you can't create your own spell...
I could even see a spell that you could actually cast as the following, where you record something, put it on YouTube, on your personal channel, put it on private, and play it for yourself, and it's just affirmations all day.
Yes.
Spell. I mean, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you record personal affirmations for yourself on your YouTube channels. You make it private so only you have access to it.
Right.
And then you listen to it throughout the day. Spell. How hard is it to come up with this stuff?
Again, I don't understand.
I don't either. I mean, I used to go into work and I would just sit there and when I did electronics and repairs and we were in a repair shop and we had a quota to make, I would sit there just continuously chant to myself, let what seems to be impossible be possible.
Right.
Notice how you're phrasing the words of the saying. What seems to be impossible be possible. Not what is impossible.
Right. Right, because for us, nothing is impossible.
Again, wording is important.
Yes.
It's important in your head and what you're saying and the way you're saying it. So, again, is this the problem with your spell? Is this one you need a new spell? I mean, there's just tons of questions along with this.
Right. Help us understand.
Please. I might be confused here.
We might just be old for all that matters.
You know,
but just, please, help us understand.
I think I'm out of coffee on.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning.